Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into the fascinating world of Mongol China, where Genghis Khan's grandsons ran the empire, toilet paper was invented, and using coins could get you arrested. Welcome to the Yuan dynasty, where Marco Polo showed up and probably immediately regretted packing light. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've just woken up in 13th century China, except it's not really China anymore. It's the Yuan dynasty, ruled by Mongol Khans who've traded their horses for silk robes and their fermented mare's milk for tea ceremonies. You're in Khanbalik, modern-day Beijing, the glittering capital of an empire that stretches from Korea to Hungary. The sun hasn't risen, but the city already hums with activity. Street vendors hawk steamed buns, while government clerks shuffle past, clutching scrolls like their lives depend on it, which they probably do. This isn't the nomadic steppes where a wrong turn meant wolves. This is imperial bureaucracy, where a misfiled document could mean exile, execution, or worse, a strongly worded memo. You smell incense, sewage, horse manure, and something that might be roasted duck, or might be your neighbour's cat. In Mongol China, protein is protein, and questions about sourcing are considered impolite. Your lodging is a narrow wooden building, squeezed between a noodle shop and a fortune teller who seems suspiciously accurate about predicting tax audits. The walls are paper thin. You can hear everything: crying babies, arguments about rice prices, and someone practicing the erhu at 3 in the morning like they're auditioning for the imperial court. You step outside and immediately realize you have no idea how to behave. In Mongol China, every gesture, every bow, every word is a potential political statement. Bow too low and you're a bootlicker. Bow too high and you're disrespectful. Don't bow at all and you're probably about to become fish food in the Grand Canal. The streets are packed. Merchants from Central Asia argue in Persian. Mongol officials bark orders in Mongolian. Chinese scholars whisper in classical Chinese. You speak none of these languages fluently, which makes navigating daily life roughly as easy as explaining democracy to a horse. Welcome to your new reality. You're a foreigner in a foreign land ruled by other foreigners who've spent decades figuring out how to govern people they don't entirely understand. And everyone, absolutely everyone, is watching to see if you'll make a mistake worth reporting to someone with a very sharp sword. In Mongol China, social mobility isn't about working hard or getting lucky. It's about being born into the right ethnic group, at the right time, in the right place. Welcome to the 4-class system, where your race literally determines your legal rights, and diversity means different types of oppression for different people. At the top sit the Mongols, the conquerors, the chosen people of the Great Khan. They don't have to take civil service exams. They don't pay certain taxes. They get the best government jobs. the finest houses, and if they murder someone, the punishment is usually a stern talking to and a small fine. Being Mongol in Yuan China is like having a diplomatic passport that also doubles as a license to steal. Next come the Simu, the coloured eye people, which sounds racist because it absolutely is. These are Central Asians, Persians, Arabs, and other non-Chinese minorities who helped the Mongols conquer China. They're the preferred administrators, tax collectors, and merchants because the Mongols trust them more than the Chinese. Which makes sense since you generally don't trust people whose country you just invaded. Third are the Hanren, northern Chinese who submitted early to Mongol rule. They're considered semi-trustworthy, which in Mongol terms means they can hold minor government positions and own businesses, but they're still watched constantly for signs of rebellion, nostalgia, or insufficient enthusiasm for them. Tonight we begin with something a little more gilded, but no less brutal, a time of crowns, conspiracies, and royal bloodshed. We're diving into what life was really like for medieval queens. Forget the fairy tales and Disney princess fantasies Hollywood sold you. The truth? You probably wouldn't last a single day. So before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on that fan for some soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up as Queen Isabella of somewhere medieval Europe in the year 1347. The good news? You're alive and technically the most powerful woman in the kingdom. The bad news? That crown on your head might as well be a target, and half the people bowing to you are probably plotting your downfall before breakfast. Your bed isn't the luxurious four-poster you might imagine. It's a wooden frame stuffed with straw and feathers, covered in heavy tapestries that haven't been washed since your coronation 3 years ago. The sheets, if you can call them that, are rough linen that chafes against your skin. But you can't complain. Complaining is unqueenly, and being unqueenly can get you divorced, exiled, or worse. The castle around you is a stone refrigerator. No central heating, just massive fireplaces that barely warm the corners, while the rest of the room remains perpetually frigid. Your windows? Narrow slits designed more for shooting arrows than letting in light, and they're covered with oiled parchment, not glass. The wind whistles through gaps in the stone walls that you could fit your fist through. You blink awake as the chapel bell clangs in the distance, calling you to morning prayers. Because yes, even queens don't get to sleep in. Your day is scheduled from dawn to dusk, every moment accounted for, every action scrutinized by advisors, courtiers, and enemies who all want something from you. Your chamber is shared not just with your ladies in waiting, but with servants, guards, and occasionally random nobles who need to petition you at ungodly hours. Privacy? That's a luxury you surrendered when you took the crown. Even your most intimate moments are witnessed, recorded, and gossiped about in every corner of the kingdom. Welcome to mourning in medieval royalty, where being queen means you're never truly alone, because courtiers, spies, and assassins are always watching. And this is just how your day starts. It only gets more dangerous from here. So you've managed to extract yourself from your medieval royal haystack of obligations. Congratulations. Now comes the morning ritual that could literally kill you. Getting dressed. And I don't mean dying from embarrassment. I mean actual physical death. First, there's the matter of your undergarments. A rough linen chemise that serves as your only barrier against the wool and silk that will be layered on top. No bra, obviously, just a tight-fitting bodice that will compress your ribs for the next 16 hours. Breathing deeply is for peasants. Next comes the corset. Not the romanticized version you see in movies, but a rigid contraption of whalebone, wood, and iron that squeezes your internal organs into new and interesting configurations. Tight lacing isn't just fashion, it's a political statement. A queen must have a wasp waist to prove her moral virtue and self-control. Never mind that it's slowly crushing your liver. The dress itself is an architectural marvel of impossibility. Layers upon layers of silk, velvet and brocade, each one heavier than the last. The sleeves alone weigh as much as a small child, and are so tight you can't lift your arms above shoulder height. The skirt is supported by hoops and frames that make it impossible to sit down properly. You'll spend the entire day standing or perching awkwardly on the edge of chairs. And then there's the jewellery. Not the delicate pieces you might imagine, but heavy, ostentatious displays of wealth designed to remind everyone that you could buy and sell them. Necklaces that strain your neck, bracelets that cut circulation, rings that make it impossible to use your hands properly. Each piece is a golden shackle, beautiful but burdensome. The headdress is perhaps the most dangerous part. Tall, elaborate. Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into something that'll make your worst Monday morning look like a day at the spa. We're talking about the Salem witch trials of 1692, a time when being accused of witchcraft was easier than ordering coffee, and about as survivable as a medieval root canal. So before we begin this journey into paranoia, hysteria, and questionable legal proceedings, take a moment to like the video if you enjoy what we do here, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up in Salem Village, Massachusetts in the winter of 1692. The good news? You're alive. The bad news? So is everyone else, and they're all watching you very, very carefully. Your bed is a straw mattress that's seen better decades. covered with a wool blanket that weighs roughly as much as a small Puritan, and smells like it was woven from the dreams of depressed sheep. There's no central heating, no electricity, and definitely no Netflix to distract you from the growing sense that everyone around you has completely lost their minds. You wake to the sound of the morning bell from the meeting house, which isn't just calling people to prayer. It's basically the Puritan equivalent of a morning news broadcast, except instead of weather and traffic, it's announcing who got accused of witchcraft overnight and whether anyone spotted their neighbours doing anything remotely suspicious, like smiling or enjoying themselves. Your home is a wooden structure with walls so thin you can hear your neighbours' prayers, snoring, and most importantly, any muttered curses or incantations they might be practicing at 3 a.m. Privacy doesn't exist. Community surveillance is not just encouraged, it's a religious duty. Everyone is watching everyone, all the time, for signs of the devil's work. The smell in the air is a delicate blend of wood smoke, unwashed bodies, fear-induced sweat, and something that might be porridge but could also be punishment from God. Scented candles haven't been invented yet, and if they had been, enjoying pleasant smells would probably be considered vanity, which might get you accused of consorting with dark forces. You stumble out of bed, and immediately your feet hit a floor so cold it might actually be trying to steal your soul. The temperature inside your house is barely warmer than outside, where January in Massachusetts feels like nature's way of testing your commitment to Puritan ideals. Your joints ache not just from the cold, but from sleeping on furniture designed by people who believed comfort was a sin. And privacy? What's that? Your entire family, possibly including a random cousin who showed up last harvest and never left, plus maybe a servant or two, all sleep in the same room. There are no separate bedrooms, no personal space, and absolutely no way to have a private moment without someone noticing and wondering if you're up to something demonic. Welcome to your first morning in Salem Village, where the day hasn't even started yet, and you're already being evaluated for signs of supernatural activity. And trust me, it only gets worse from here. So you've managed to crawl out of your colonial bed of sorrows. Congratulations. Now it's time for morning prayers, and in Salem Village, this isn't optional. It's not even really voluntary. It's survival. Before you can eat, drink, or even think about relieving yourself, you must thank God for allowing you to survive another night without being possessed by demons or struck down for your sins. The morning prayer isn't a quick thank you and move on. It's a full theological production that can last anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, depending on how many sins your family patriarch needs to confess on behalf of the household. You kneel on the frozen floor because comfort during prayer would suggest you're not taking your spiritual suffering seriously enough, while the head of your household recites lengthy passages from the Bible, asks for forgiveness for thoughts you might have had, and basically prepares everyone for another day of potential damnation. But here's where it gets interesting. During these prayers, everyone is watching everyone else. Are you praying with sufficient enthusiasm? Are your eyes closed? Tonight's story comes with a warning. We're stepping into the brutal world of foot binding in ancient China, a practice as horrifying as it was enduring. If you thought beauty standards today were harsh, wait until you hear what women were expected to endure for a lifetime of broken bones. Tonight you're discovering the agonizing reality behind those tiny lotus feet that defined feminine beauty for generations. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're 5 years old, maybe 6 if you're lucky, living in China sometime between the 10th and 20th centuries. It's autumn, the traditional season for beginning foot binding, when the weather is cool enough to reduce infection risk, but warm enough that you won't completely lose feeling in your feet. Your mother approaches with strips of silk or cotton cloth, her face set in that particular expression of maternal love, mixed with grim determination. She's about to break your feet on purpose, and she's doing it because she loves you. This is the beginning of foot binding, or chanzu, literally wrapped feet, and you're about to discover what 1,000 years of beauty standards can do to the human body. Your mother sits you down, perhaps offers you a piece of candy, or tells you a story to distract you, but nothing can really prepare you for what's coming next. She's going to fold your 4 smaller toes under your foot, bend them back against your sole, and then wrap your entire foot so tightly that the bones will break and reshape themselves into a 3-inch crescent moon. The process starts deceptively gently. Your mother washes your feet first, probably the last time they'll be truly clean for months. She massages them, perhaps applying alum or other astringents to toughen the skin. Then she begins the folding. Your toes, every toe except the big one, get pressed down and under, forced into an impossible position that immediately sends lightning bolts of pain up your legs. But this is just the beginning. Next comes the binding cloth wrapped around your foot with the methodical precision of someone who's done this before, probably to herself decades ago. The cloth goes under your sole, over your instep, around your heel, and back again, each pass tighter than the last. The pressure is immediate and overwhelming. Imagine someone putting your foot in a vice and slowly, steadily turning the handle. Your foot is being compressed into a shape that nature never intended, and your body is screaming in protest. The binding continues up past your ankle, creating a seamless white cocoon from your toes to mid-calf. When your mother finishes, you can't move your toes, you can't flex your foot. You can barely feel anything except a deep, throbbing ache that seems to pulse with your heartbeat. Congratulations, you've just taken your first step toward becoming a lady. But we're not done yet. Your mother takes a needle and thread and actually sews the binding cloth shut, sealing your feet inside their new prison. The stitching ensures you can't loosen the wrappings, can't give your feet even a moment's relief. You're committed now, locked into a process that will take years to complete and will leave you permanently disabled. The first night is the worst. You lie in bed, your feet elevated on pillows, waves of pain washing over you in regular intervals. It's not just discomfort, it's the specific agony of bones under pressure, of flesh being compressed beyond its limits, of a body part being systematically destroyed. Your nervous system is firing distress signals constantly, but there's nothing you can do. The bindings stay on. Sleep comes in fragments between pain waves. You drift off from exhaustion, then wake up when you unconsciously try to move your feet and feel the binding cloth cutting into your skin. The pain is so intense that you might vomit. You might develop a fever. Your mother checks on you regularly, offering small sips of water and words of encouragement. She tells you you're being brave, that you're becoming beautiful, that this suffering will make you worthy.
Part 5.
You complain about your commute, your boss, and your rent. Medieval serfs complained about being legally owned, having half their food stolen by lords, and dying at 30 from preventable diseases. Tonight, let's put your problems in perspective as we explore the brutal reality of what it meant to be a medieval serf, tied to the land, owned by a lord, and trapped in a system designed to keep you exactly where you were born. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up. Well, wake up is generous. You haven't really slept. It's more like you've been drifting in and out of consciousness on a pile of straw that's seen better centuries. The rooster's crow isn't a gentle alarm clock. It's a harsh reminder that your day of unpaid labour begins now, whether your body feels ready or not. The first thing that hits you is the cold. It's always cold. Your one-room hovel doesn't have central heating. Doesn't have any heating actually. Just a fire pit in the centre that went out sometime during the night. The smoke from yesterday's fire still clings to the thatch roof above you like a grey blanket of regret. The air tastes of ash, damp straw, and that special medieval blend of human and animal waste that modern people would call toxic and you call Tuesday. Your back aches from sleeping on what can charitably be called a bed. It's straw, not a mattress filled with straw, just straw, loose straw on the ground, maybe with a piece of rough cloth thrown over it if you're particularly prosperous. Your spine cracks like an old wooden door as you sit up, and you're reminded that you're 35 years old, which in medieval terms makes you practically ancient. Your father died at 38, and you're well on your way to matching his record. The smell hits you next, that special symphony of medieval living. It's unwashed bodies, wet wool, smoke, animal droppings, and something else you can't quite identify, but definitely don't want to. There's no deodorant, no soap that works, no concept of daily hygiene as we know it. You haven't had a proper bath in months, maybe years. Why would you? Hot water is a luxury reserved for the wealthy, and you're about as far from wealthy as a person can get. Your stomach growls, but that's nothing new. Your stomach is always growling. It's been growling for so long that hunger has become your baseline state. The gnawing emptiness in your belly isn't acute starvation. That would kill you. It's chronic undernourishment, the kind that leaves you perpetually tired, perpetually irritable, and perpetually thinking about food. Congratulations, you're a serf, which means you're not quite a slave, but you're not free either. You're something in between, a human being who happens to come with the land, like a particularly complicated piece of farming equipment that occasionally needs to eat. So you've managed to become conscious, and now you're faced with the reality of your situation. You belong to Lord Elred, a man you've seen maybe a dozen times in your entire life, usually from a distance as he rides past on his horse. He owns you the way he owns his chickens, his pigs, and his fields. The difference is that his livestock is probably better fed. You can't leave. This isn't just social pressure or economic necessity, it's law. You are legally bound to this land, to this lord, for life. Your children are bound to this land. Their children will be bound to this land. Your family line stretches behind you and ahead of you in an unbroken chain of servitude that would make a prison warden weep with envy. Want to marry? You need your lord's permission. Want to move to the next village? Permission. Want to learn a trade? Permission. Want to own property? Dream on. Want to travel? The roads are dangerous. You have no money. And oh right, you're not allowed to leave anyway. Your freedom of movement extends about as far as you can walk before sunset and still make it back to your hovel. The legal term for your status is villain, which will eventually become the word villain, and honestly, that's pretty fitting. You're the villain in your own life story, trapped by circumstances you can't control and a system you can't escape.